A skillful biker, Max was not much slowed on the busy streets of the new town. He crossed the city park, sounding the bicycle's bell to warn people of his sudden, swift approach from behind, and was relieved to see that the clock on the City Hall tower showed 5 after 11. He had more than enough time to make a noon departure, even if he'd miss his 11:15 deadline. He raced in front of the cafes and small shops that lined the park to enter Barthold Boulevard, with its tall 3-story buildings, which took him at top speed, dodging among the trams and carts, carriages, horses and riders, and even an automobile, the long straight way through the Bishop's Gate and into the old city. There the streets became narrow and cobbled. They twisted and crossed, offering dark alleyways as shortcuts to someone who knew the old city as well as Max did. Standing up on the pedals to minimize the discomfort and the difficulties of bouncing along on uneven stones, Max rang his bell and called out, "Sorry, sorry," to the people who had to jump into doorways to let him pass. They shouted after him, "You, fellow, slow down. What's your hurry?" He didn't slow down until he entered the crowded waterfront, where ships were lined up beside docks that protruded like fingers from a hand out into the deep water of the lake. The high metal sides of bird liners and cargo ships loomed over him like fortress walls as he pedaled past them, checking the names painted on banners hung on the sides of the gangplanks that connected the ships to land. The docks were noisy with sailors and longshoremen carrying out their chores, with businessmen settling last-minute affairs, and of course with passengers arriving in carriages, accompanied by friends come to wave them off. He checked the names on the passenger liners: Eagle of the Adriatic, Lollapalooza, Queen Eleonora, Arctic Sun, and then, in its usual place at the far end of the line of piers, the much smaller boat that ferried people and mail around the lake from dawn until dusk, stopping at one small town after the other, the Water Rat. He knew Captain Francis, of course. Everyone knew the round, friendly ferryboat captain, who with his son was always ready to help you carry parcels, trunks or crates of carrots on board, or to herd an unwilling goat into the animal pen for her journey to a new home. Captain Francis, his blue jacket splendid with gold braid, his white captain's hat set square on his head, greeted Max. "Why aren't you in school?" "I'm meeting my parents on the Flower of Kashmir." Max was still a little out of breath from his headlong ride. "That's right, school's out for lunch," said Captain Francis, who, like many adults, heard what he expected to from children, which was not necessarily exactly what they said. "Flower of Kashmir," he scratched at his shoulder, thinking. "You sure about the name?" She sails at noon for India," Max told him. "Not literally sails, of course, because she's a steamship." Captain Francis smiled, showing big white teeth. "When I was learning the trade, it was all under sail. I crossed the ocean twice under sail, once as a common sailor, once as a navigator, and I can tell you, these new liners are a great improvement. Much more comfortable, safer too in rough weather. But you're cutting in fine, aren't you?" "Can you tell me where to find her?" Max asked again. "Carlo!" called Captain Francis, and his dark-haired son leaned out the wheelhouse window. "What is it, Pop? Where's the Flower of Kashmir docked?" Carlo shook his head. "No idea. You should ask the harbor master. It's his job to know what ships where." Captain Francis pointed Max to a little brick building, barely broader than its one narrow doorway. "Leave your bicycle here if you like. I'll keep an eye on it." "Thank you, but I'm taking it with me. I'm expected. I can't." Captain Francis didn't take offense. "You know what? I thought you were one of those painter fellows at first. Must be the beret," he laughed. Max was already mounting the bicycle and wasted no more words. "Then I saw your eyes," Captain Francis called from behind him. The harbor master was too important to know who Max was and had his feet too firmly on the ground to know anything about any theatrical company. A tall, thin man in a dark suit and stiff white collar, wearing gold-rimmed glasses and sporting thick sideburns. He was on his way out the door when Max arrived. He stopped in the doorway, glanced at Max, and bowed slightly. "Monsieur," he asked, speaking French because this fellow wore a beret, and a red beret at that. He couldn't be anything but French in a red beret. "C'est ce que vous désirez?" the harbor master inquired. In his position, he dealt with ships from different countries, and he was proud of his ability to greet people in several languages. "What?" Max asked. He asked this impatiently, as if he were his father playing Banker Herman in the worldly way. "Whatever are you saying, my good man?" The harbor master switched to English. "How may I help you, sir?" "I'm expected on board the Flower of Cashmere," answered Banker Max impatiently. The harbor master's eyes widened just a little, and a hush oozed out from a small room behind him. The two clerks within looked up from their desks, first at Max and then at the harbor master. The harbor master's expression grew wary. "The Flower of Cashmere, you say? You're sure that's the vessel's name?" "Of course I'm sure," said Max, the man of few words, but his heart grew suddenly jittery. One of the clerks spoke from behind the harbor master. "Sir?" Without turning, the harbor master raised a hand to silence his underling. With a sharp-eyed glance from behind round lenses, he said, "No Flower of Cashmere is presently berthed in my harbor. What's her country of registration?" "India," Max guessed confidently. "Nor are there any Indian-registered vessels. We have presently one American, one Moroccan, one Dutch, one Canadian, and that's all of them." Max considered this. "Which vessels sail at noon?" he asked. "None, as it happens, though 3 left their berths by 10:30 this morning, so as to catch a favorable tide out of Port Haven." Something was very wrong here, but when Max spoke, it was in character. "Give me the names of those ships." The harbor master rattled off information, proud to have it at his fingertips. The Miss Koala for Australia, the Eastern Star for China, and the Simon Bolivar for South America. The Australian liner carried 435 passengers, the Chinese 212, and the South American liner was a cargo ship with only a few staterooms. "Those at the docks now will not leave until morning." The harbor master waited for Max's next question. Max's heart grew heavy with dread. This made less and less sense. He asked, "You're certain there is not and was not a Flower of Cashmere?" "Certain." "I wonder," Max asked, the last thing he could think of, "if a letter was left for me." "We are neither a post office nor a message service," the harbor master answered, allowing a little suspicion into his voice. "Sir?" the voice asked again from the office. "Not yet," said the harbor master, keeping his eyes on Max. Fortunately, Max was tall for his age, and since he was his father acting Banker Herman, he looked straight across at the official, unquelled by the man's challenging expression. Max did not smile. He did not move to leave. He waited and tried to think. But he didn't know what to think. His heart was sinking fast. "May I ask, sir, why you inquired about that particular vessel?" The harbor master was carefully polite. Max was not about to utter out loud, what he felt like saying, and certainly not the way he felt like saying it. He was not about to wail like a child, "Because my parents are on that boat." He kept his dignity and his pretense wrapped close about him. "I am to sail on her. As I said, no ship of that name has been here," the harbor master observed. "I was expected," Max insisted. "All right, Fenton," the harbor master said. "Now you may come forward." The clerk was a pale young man in shirt sleeves. He leaned excitedly around his superior to tell Max. There was a message. It was a crook-looking fellow left it. Stood like a soldier, but not one of our regulars. More like one of those mercenaries who carry their weapons hidden. Hangs around the docks sometimes. Doesn't he, sir? The harbor master didn't respond. He was watching Max's face closely. "Message from actor man for fellow with bicycle," he told us, Fenton continued. "Exact words. He had a squinty way. Didn't look at me proper. Funny ears. Shifty he was." Max nodded, important and imperturbable. What was the message?" The harbor master nodded to the clerk, who took from his shirt pocket a sheet of paper, folded in half. Fenton gave it to the harbor master, who passed it on to Max, saying, "A rather odd message if you ask me." "You read it?" "Of course. Anything out of the ordinary could be a danger to the harbor." Max very carefully did not look either surprised or dismayed, although he felt both. All he said was, "I see," and he unfolded the paper to read the message quickly, allowing himself no change of expression. A wily banker who knew more than he was saying. The note, written on heavy vellum embossed, with a now familiar arrangement of upside-down V's, was only half a page long and made no sense. "Dear boy, as the greater W.S. says, there is a tide in the affairs of men. You, it seems, will not be riding on this one with us. A pity, since we are in such a luxurious situation here. The eye of man hath not heard, the ear of man hath not seen, such luxury as we are in. Ours alone will be the adventure, and you must wait with your grandmother. Wait to hear. We wish you farewell. W.S. the Lesser." You will be glad to know that our adorable Arabella has engaged herself to banker Herman. Max read quickly, nodded importantly once, twice, pocketed the paper, and held out his hand to the harbor master. "Thank you for the information, my good man. You have been most helpful." So, they had sailed without him. His heart hit bottom. He had well and truly missed the boat. But what boat headed for what destination? And why he had been lied to about the time? Max turned to leave, walking his bicycle the way a grown man would, moving at a stately pace among the people and vehicles crowding the busy waterfront. The harbor master and his clerk watched him go. "What do you make of that, sir?" "Something's going on, I'm pretty sure. But not on my docks, and not in my harbor. So it's not my problem," the harbor master said. "Who was that fellow?" "He was not who he seemed to be," answered the harbor master thoughtfully. "Could this be a police matter? Maybe we'd better write down a description." Good thinking, Fenton. But neither of them could remember what their visitor had looked like. He hadn't left any clear impression, except for his red beret and his eyes, of course, the harbor master said. The clerk agreed. "Never seen eyes that color, have I?" "You neither, sir?" "I'll bet. Not gray, not really. And you couldn't say brown, like the underside of mushrooms. You've seen them, haven't you? The underside of mushrooms?" This reminded the harbor master that he was hungry and had been interrupted on his way home for the good lunch his wife would have waiting for him. "I believe somebody's pulling my leg," he told the clerk, "and I am not amused." By then their visitor had disappeared into the crowd. They looked for him, but saw only a boy in the distance, a boy riding a bicycle, his school bag hanging off one shoulder, and a bright red bandana jammed into his rear pocket. The boy rounded a corner and was out of sight.